As Alina stepped out of the sleek, black exotic car, she couldn't help but feel a surge of satisfaction. Another successful weekend with her latest sugar daddy had brought her home in style. Following closely behind the luxury vehicle, a burly pickup truck rolled to a stop, its cargo of lavish gifts for Alina's enjoyment being unloaded by two imposing men in sharp suits. With a flick of her perfectly manicured hand, Alina led the way to her opulent penthouse apartment, a residence provided by one of her former benefactors, a foreign billionaire who had lavished her with gifts and experiences beyond her wildest dreams. As they ascended the steps, Alina's phone buzzed with the latest news alert, a breaking story detailing the disappearance of yet another young woman in the area, Chelsea. The frequency of such occurrences had been unsettlingly high of late, sending ripples of unease through the community. Upon reaching her apartment, Alina directed the men to deposit her spoils beside the designer bubble sofa that graced her living room. The space exuded an aura of sophistication, its expansive layout adorned with sleek, high-end furnishings and tasteful decor befitting a woman of Alina's status. Amidst the flurry of activity, a bag tumbled open, revealing an array of extravagant lingerie adorned with diamonds, a designer handbag, and a delicate silk chiffon scarf. "It's fine, just leave it there," Alina instructed the men, who promptly exited the apartment to retrieve the remaining bags. In the midst of their departure, Alina's girlfriend Catherine emerged from the bathroom, her face lighting up at the sight of her beloved. "I've missed you, babe," Catherine exclaimed, rushing forward to embrace Alina with fervent affection. Returning the sentiment, Alina pressed a tender kiss to Catherine's lips before urging her to seek refuge once more. "Quick, you need to hide." "They're not finished bringing up the gifts," Alina whispered, prompting Catherine to hurry back into the bathroom. With the final deliveries completed, one of the men cast a lingering gaze at Alina, his expression betraying a hint of envy mixed with resentment. "Well," he began awkwardly, thrusting a small bag of cash into Alina's hands as payment for her services. "Come out now, babe," Alina called out to Catherine, who emerged once more, their reunion marked by a rush of warmth and affection. As they embraced, Alina's mind raced with a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions, overshadowed by the disquieting news of Chelsea's disappearance. Following Alina's retreat to the bathroom for a much-needed shower, Catherine busied herself with inspecting the contents of their newfound treasures. With each item she uncovered, Catherine marveled at the opulence and excess that defined Alina's world, a world she had become inexorably entwined with. Catherine undressed in the living room and approached the bathroom, and stepping into the shower with Alina, Catherine enveloped her in a tender embrace, her voice laced with concern as she broached the topic of Chelsea's disappearance. Alina's heart sank at the mention of her friend's name, a pang of sorrow mingling with the undercurrent of apprehension that gripped her. "They say she went on a date and never returned," Catherine murmured, her words hanging heavily in the steam-filled air. Alina remained quiet. Despite the gravity of the situation, Alina's resolve remained steadfast. She was unshaken by the shadows that lurked at the edges of their world. In the intimacy of the shower, Alina and Catherine found solace in each other's arms, their bond forged in the crucible of shared experiences and mutual understanding. Though the specter of Chelsea's disappearance loomed, casting a pall over their thoughts, they found strength in their connection, a bond that transcended the fleeting trappings of wealth and luxury. As they stood beneath the cascading water, their bodies pressed close in a silent communion of love and solidarity, Alina couldn't help but feel a flicker of defiance stir within her. Chelsea's absence served as a stark reminder of the dangers that lurked beneath the surface of their seemingly glamorous existence, yet it didn't scare Alina away from the sugar-dating world. She was determined to keep on going, as both her and Catherine enjoyed the luxurious lifestyle. With Catherine by her side, Alina knew that together they could weather any storm. As the days rolled by, Catherine returned home from her late shift as a bartender in one of the finer exclusive clubs in the city, clutching an envelope to Alina. Despite the weariness etched on her face, Catherine's eyes sparkled with anticipation as she bounded into their apartment, eager to share her find with Alina. "Babe," Catherine called out. Alina descended the staircase, a vision of beauty bathed in the soft glow of the ambient lighting. Dressed for a special occasion, the 4-year anniversary of their first meeting. Her appearance left Catherine speechless. Alina, dressed in the newly acquired expensive lingerie, fit her like a supermodel. "Wow," Catherine breathed, her admiration evident as she beheld Alina's stunning appearance. With a coy smile, Alina acknowledged Catherine's compliment, her gaze lingering on her lover, anticipating her next move. "I charged the batteries," Alina said. "I guess we can catch up later," Catherine murmured. Alina's playful response sent a surge of excitement coursing through Catherine's veins, prompting her to seize Alina's hand and guide her towards the bedroom. As the first rays of dawn peeked through the window, Alina turned to Catherine, her curiosity piqued. "So, what did you bring me?" she inquired. Catherine, still groggy from sleep, "What?" she replied. Alina's reminder jogged her memory, and she hurried downstairs to retrieve the envelope she had brought for Alina. Returning to the bedroom, Catherine handed the envelope to Alina, who eagerly tore it open, revealing its contents. 2 crisp $100 bills, nestled within a gold money clip adorned with a red diamond, spilled onto the bed. "Not a bad start," Alina remarked, her eyes lit with interest as she unfolded the letter enclosed within the envelope. The invitation contained within outlined a weekend getaway to a sprawling mansion on a secluded private island, a proposition that elicited both intrigue and apprehension. "That sounds a bit off," Catherine voiced her reservations. Alina nodded in agreement, acknowledging the underlying sense of unease that accompanied the invitation. However, as Alina delved deeper into the details of the invitation, her excitement grew, overshadowing any lingering doubts. The promise of extravagant gifts and luxurious accommodations proved too tempting to resist, drawing Alina further into the allure of the mysterious invitation. A brand new electric car, designer clothing, and gift cards worth thousands, Alina exclaimed, her voice filled with excitement. Catherine's apprehension deepened at the extravagant offerings, prompting her to voice her concerns once more. "Are you sure about this?" Catherine implored, her gaze searching Alina's for reassurance. Despite Catherine's reservations, Alina remained undeterred, her mind already made up. With a mixture of excitement and trepidation, Alina dialed the number provided at the bottom of the letter, her heart pounding in anticipation. A deep, ominous voice answered the call, sending a chill down Alina's spine. "Yes," the voice said. "Hi, it's Alina greeted, her voice steady despite the nervous flutter in her chest. The voice on the other end of the line offered no response. "I'm interested in the weekend getaway," she said. "Check your phone," the voice commanded before abruptly ending the call. Alina's phone buzzed with a new message, directing her to a set of coordinates and a pickup location. Despite Catherine's pleas for caution, Alina's curiosity and desire for adventure outweighed any lingering doubts. "Alina, please reconsider," Catherine urged, her voice tinged with concern. But Alina, captivated by the promise of luxury and excitement, remained firm in her decision to accept the invitation. As the day of departure approached, Alina meticulously gathered her essentials for the impending weekend getaway. Excited, she carefully packed her purse with an assortment of items: makeup, moisturizer, lotion, birth control pills, and a taser, each serving as a vital tool in navigating the uncertain terrain of her sugar babe lifestyle. Additionally, she meticulously selected 2 bags of clothing, adhering closely to the detailed instructions outlined in the mysterious invitation. As Alina bid farewell to Catherine, an unsettling feeling gnawed at her insides, a nagging sense of unease that refused to be ignored. "It doesn't feel right," Catherine voiced her concerns. Alina reassured her lover, "Don't worry, sweetie, I'll be fine. I'll be back before you know it." Arriving at the designated pickup spot, Alina found herself alone, the empty street casting long shadows in the fading light of dusk. Fumbling for her phone to call Catherine for a ride, she froze as the sound of footsteps shattered the silence. Before she could react, a figure cloaked in darkness lunged at her, a sudden rush of adrenaline coursing through her veins as panic gripped her heart. With a swift motion, the assailant subdued her, a sharp prick at her neck sending waves of dizziness crashing over her. As consciousness faded, Alina found herself in a disorienting haze, her surroundings blurred and indistinct. Disoriented and groggy, she struggled to make sense of her surroundings, her senses overwhelmed by the cacophony of noise and motion. Blinking away the fog of sedation, Alina's eyes adjusted to the dim interior of the helicopter, her heart sinking as she realized she was not alone. Bound and helpless, she found herself in the company of two other girls, their expressions mirroring her own bewilderment and fear. Unable to speak above the roar of the helicopter, Alina's attempts to communicate were futile, her pleas drowned out by the deafening noise of the rotors. A shadowy figure approached her, his features obscured by the darkness of his hood, and placed a bag over her head, plunging her into a suffocating darkness. Hours passed in a blur of disorientation and fear as the helicopter traversed the dark expanse of the night. Alina drifted in and out of consciousness, her mind reeling with unanswered questions. Finally, the helicopter touched down with a jolt, the abrupt cessation of motion signaling their arrival. "Out," a voice commanded, and Alina obeyed, her limbs stiff and aching from hours of confinement. Guided by unseen hands, Alina stumbled forward, her feet sinking into the cool sand of the beach beneath her. The salty sea breeze whipped at her skin. Led through the darkness, Alina's senses strained to discern her surroundings, her pulse quickening with each passing moment. Eventually, they arrived at their destination, a sprawling mansion shrouded in darkness, its imposing silhouette casting a long shadow over the landscape. "Welcome," a disembodied voice echoed through the air, its tone cold and devoid of warmth. Alina's heart raced as she was led inside, her mind racing with a sense of mounting dread. As the door closed behind her, Alina found herself alone in a lavish room, its opulent furnishings a stark contrast to the ominous atmosphere that hung in the air. A sudden flicker of movement caught her eye, drawing her gaze to a large television screen embedded in the wall. Cautiously, Alina approached the screen, her heart pounding in her chest as she watched in horror as the feed flickered to life, revealing a live feed of her own room, along with those of the other girls. A text appeared on the screen, its message chilling in its simplicity: "You have 2 minutes to change to your cocktail set, with a camera vest and await further instructions." Alina's hands trembled as she complied, her mind racing with fear and uncertainty. With each passing moment, the tension in the room mounted. Suddenly, she noticed one of the girls refused to comply, her defiance met with swift and brutal punishment as a figure clad in a grotesque pig's mask emerged from the shadows, wielding a machete. As the girl furiously rushed towards the man in the obscure mask, he drew the machete and with a swift move, her arm was cut off. She was left to bleed to death on the floor in this big mansion. Alina recoiled in horror as the scene unfolded before her eyes, her mind reeling with shock and disbelief. Frantically searching for her belongings, she prayed for a miracle, a way to escape this nightmare and find her way back to Catherine's embrace. Yet, as she reached for her phone and tracker, she realized with a sinking heart that her worst fears had become a reality. She was trapped, at the mercy of forces beyond her control, with no hope of escape in sight. Alina's heart pounded like a drum in her chest as the message flashed on the TV screen. "Do as you're told, or face the consequences." The words sent a jolt of fear coursing through her veins, paralyzing her with terror. The mansion plunged into darkness, enveloping Alina in a suffocating blanket of blackness. The only source of light came from the camera mounted on her vest, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls. It was like being trapped in a nightmare. A voice, cold and menacing, echoed through the speakers. "Forgive me, but it's time to play," it said. Alina recognized the voice but couldn't place it, a faceless terror lurking in the darkness, waiting to strike. "Since we're already one girl down, I guess it's in its place to up the stakes a little," the voice continued. She felt a knot form in her stomach as she listened. "Find your way out alive, and you'll be able to choose your own gifts," the voice taunted, its words like a cruel joke mocking her desperate situation. But her thoughts were interrupted as the voice issued another warning. "Watch out for the intruders. And the white tiger, oh, and don't mess with the vest, it will set off a minor inward explosion." Alina's breath caught in her throat at the mention of the tiger. A glitching sound filled the room, followed by a guttural growl. The sound seemed to reverberate through the walls, a primal roar that echoed in the depths of her mind. With a trembling hand, Alina reached up to adjust the camera on her vest, the feeble light it emitted barely enough to illuminate her surroundings. As she moved cautiously through the mansion, every creak of the floorboards sent a jolt of adrenaline coursing through her veins. She stumbled upon a door and pushed it open, the hinges groaning in protest. The sound echoed in the darkness. Footsteps echoed nearby, growing louder with each passing second. Alina's heart raced as she listened, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Descending the stairs, Alina felt a chill run down her spine as she entered the depths of the mansion. She knew that danger lurked around every corner, but she refused to let fear paralyze her. As Alina cautiously crept down the stairs, the air grew thick with the stench of decay, suffocating her senses. It was like walking into a tomb, the darkness pressing in around her, swallowing her whole. She strained her ears, listening for any sign of danger in the oppressive silence. Then, piercing through the stillness, Alina heard it, a low, mournful cry echoing from the depths of the basement. Despite the fear gnawing at her insides, she knew she had to investigate. Careful not to make a sound, Alina tiptoed towards the source of the crying, her heart hammering in her chest. The closer she got, the stronger the smell became. She pressed a hand to her mouth to stifle a cough, her eyes watering from the putrid odor. Suddenly, the crying stopped, replaced by the frantic sound of footsteps scurrying away. Alina's pulse quickened, her instincts screaming at her to flee. But she had to know who it was. Ignoring the pounding of her heart, Alina followed the sound of the footsteps, her footsteps barely making a sound against the cold stone floor. As she rounded a corner, she spotted a figure huddled in the shadows, a girl in a tattered white dress, her face hidden in her hands. "Wait!" Alina called out in a hushed whisper, but her voice came out louder than intended, echoing off the walls of the basement. The girl jerked upright, fear flashing in her eyes as she looked towards Alina. Before Alina could reach her, she stumbled over something on the ground, crashing to the floor with a loud thud. Instantly, the room was flooded with light. Alina's breath caught in her throat as she took in her surroundings. A sinister carnival tune started playing, and an eerie painting hung on the wall. As Alina struggled to regain her footing, the girl in the white dress rushed towards her, calling out Alina's name in relief. It was Chelsea, the latest victim of this twisted game. Alina's heart ached at the sight of her bruised and battered face, a silent testament to the horrors she had endured. "We have to get out of here," Chelsea whispered urgently, her eyes darting nervously around the room. "The tiger is down here." Alina nodded. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that every move they made was being observed by their unseen captors. But she pushed the thought aside, focusing instead on the task at hand, escaping this house of horrors before it was too late. Alina's heart pounded in her chest as she slowly pushed the door open. Something heavy was blocking their escape. With a concerted effort, they managed to squeeze through, but the sight that greeted them on the other side froze them in their tracks. The lifeless form of the other girl lay sprawled on the ground, a chilling reminder of the fate that awaited them if they didn't find a way out soon. Alina and Chelsea exchanged a silent glance, before continuing forward. Determined to evade the clutches of their captors, they moved cautiously through the mansion, every shadow concealing a potential threat, each room a testament to the cruelty of those who had brought them here. A deafening roar shattered the silence, sending a wave of fear coursing through their veins. The door to the basement busted open, unleashing the white tiger into their midst. With adrenaline coursing through their veins, they knew they had to keep moving, their survival depending on it. In a stroke of luck, they stumbled upon a room filled with an array of weapons, a glimmer of hope in the darkness. Without hesitation, they armed themselves with a bat full of nails and a large hammer. But their moment of respite was short-lived, as an intruder emerged from the shadows. With a savage swing of his blade, he launched himself at Alina and Chelsea, intent on ending their lives. In a desperate bid for survival, they fought back with all their strength, the sound of their blows reverberating through the room. Tears welled in Alina's eyes as she realized the gravity of their situation. "We need to find a way out, now," Alina cried. "Follow me," Chelsea said. As they navigated through the mansion, they stumbled upon a door with a glow coming out from beneath it. Hope surged within them as they approached, but their relief was short-lived as a knife whizzed past Alina, embedding itself in the door. The intruder, wearing a grotesque pig mask, stood before them. With a menacing swing of his blade, he advanced towards them, his intent clear. But before he could strike, the white tiger leapt into action, tearing into the intruder with primal fury. Seizing the opportunity, Alina and Chelsea bolted through the door, their hearts pounding in their chests as they escaped into the unknown. As they collapsed onto the ground outside, relief washed over them, mingled with disbelief at their miraculous escape. But their respite was short-lived as they were approached by 4 men in suits, their faces impassive as they subdued the 2 women. The world faded to black, and when Alina regained consciousness, she found herself back at the pickup spot, her body battered but alive. Beside her lay Chelsea, bruised and battered but breathing. Next to her lay a magazine with designer clothing, electric vehicles, jewelry, and much more luxury. But Alina didn't care, she wanted to go home. Together, they made their way back to civilization, their ordeal etched into their very beings. They returned to Alina's apartment, where Catherine awaited them with open arms, her tears a testament to the love and relief she felt at their return. In the quiet of the night, as they huddled together, Alina and Chelsea never spoke of the terrors.